50 meters, 30, 20, 10, 5, careful on the throttle, and touchdown. Nice job, Jeb. Ah, come on. I'd say I'd gotten used to landing things by now. Trivial this was. Still a solid landing. Should we get to unloading the rover? Yes, of course. Start the procedure right away. Open the bay doors, Bob. Copy that. Opening the doors now. Extend the piston. Extending the piston. Just tell me when to stop. Keep going. Keep going. A little more. And stop. Perfect. Now, deactivate the docking port. On it. Well, I suppose Billy, Bobkin, and I'll see you guys in about 870 kilometers? Boy, that's gonna be fun to drive. Good luck, boys. Godspeed. May the Kraken be with you. Ugh. This terrain is horrible for rovers. Feels like everywhere is just a hill. Yeah, it sure does. Watch out! There's the ship. We've nearly made it, Bob. Bob? Mark my words, Drez. I will remember this. Well, hello again. I come bearing a bit of bad news. It seems that ever since Ned and Harry's triumphant return from Tylo, Bob Kerman's power and wrath have only grown stronger and stronger by the day. Although he has not changed anything else in the Kerbal system since first ascending to godhood, the KSP has observed several other star systems being entirely transformed, relocated, or in one extreme case, entirely disappear from existence. This does not bode well for the future of Kerbal kind now, does it? Let's try to halt this activity, or at the very least, convince Bob to change his ways. But, Heff, I hear you say. How do you plan on stopping a literal godlike being? I don't know. Big flashy ship? Big flashy ship. So, yeah, Bob is still out there doing his thing, and while it was fun for a while, it needs to stop. He's done too much trolling. Also, he used me as a vessel to accomplish his goals of universal domination by having me send him to... Wait, what was it again? In the first place, so I've got some unfinished business with him. And that's where our story begins. Meet Nedzer Kerman, who is currently one of the KSP's most acclaimed Kerbinauts. And for good reason, too. He and his co-pilot, Harry Kerman, just returned from a mission thought entirely impossible, landing on Tylo under 4 Gs of gravity. Now, however, after all of the celebrations and all of the partying, Ned finds himself wishing for things to simply go back to normal. And, above all, he simply wants to rest. As he heads back to the KSC, however, what he does not know is that he is about to embark on the journey of a lifetime. As the sun rose over the KSC grounds, Ned made his way to the KSC, feeling optimistic about what lay ahead. After all, there was no way he'd ever have to do anything as difficult as what he'd just done, right? Surely he'd just go back to doing routine missions to the Regulus station or something. That'd been pretty alright. Anyways, as Ned makes his way to the astronaut complex, allow me to introduce you to the ship that will bring justice to the galaxy, the Heff 1000, otherwise known as the High Performance Eldritch Fugitive Finder, a glorious piece of machinery that I spent way more time on than I'm willing to admit, okay? With a total part count of more than 1,000, it's surely going to be absolutely thrilling to perform long burns with, especially given its incredible thrust-to-weight ratio of 0.08. But still, come on, it's a masterpiece of mine, with custom cargo bay doors, pod bay doors,
I'm sorry, Dave.
2 landers, a rover, science units, and more. Surely the greatest spacecraft ever conceived in the vehicle assembly building. Except, well, it absolutely sucks balls. Do you see anything that could be problematic here? Perhaps a little bit, you know, Kraken baity? Yeah, that's right. The cargo bay.
What is this?
Well, darn. Surely I can fix it by adding auto struts though, right? Yeah, no. This ain't gonna work, Chief. And that's without even mentioning the absolutely atrocious landing setup with only 2 engines. What the hell was I thinking? Clearly, the Heff 1000 needs a complete redesign. And so I began working on its replacement. Also for a length of time that I'd rather not disclose. But, while I'm building the Heff 1000's successor, let's talk about something else. Landers. What are they all about? Well, to put it simply, in order to complete this grand tour, I need multiple landers. 3 to be precise. Actually 4, but we'll get to that later. Of these landers, there are 2 that we built into the ship itself. Starting with our main lander, the Kangaroo. It will be doing the majority of our landings and can carry up to 5 Kerbinauts down to the surface of any celestial body you see highlighted right now. Inside its pouch is a small rover, Willy, which will be used for short-range surface exploration and tracking. AKA, we'll place a tracking beacon on a planet in an attempt to find Bob there. As with any Grand Tour, though, unless you were a literal god at KSP, we need a separate lander for Eve, and Alternis Kerbol is no different, although even this mod is actually significantly easier to return from. In order to get a crew of 2 to Eve's surface and back, we have the Leonardo, which has a first stage loaded with propeller blades for propulsion out of the lower atmosphere. Followed by a simple 2-stage rocket setup. I briefly thought about making this an SSTO, but then I decided, nah, and didn't. Lander number 3, Maverick. This is an SSTO craft that actually has 2 functions. 1, it will bring the crew up to the mothership to dock with it, and 2, it will serve as our Lathe lander before returning to Kerbin on its own. Hence the name Maverick. As for our final lander, though, we'll save that for later. Ah, perfect timing! The new ship has just been completed. Let's have a look at the all-new, improved F-3500, which has, what, 1,250... ignoring the inevitable single-digit frame rates, let's take a look at the ship as a whole, starting with its improved cargo bay. Yes, believe it or not, I actually made it a cylinder shape this time, using some tomfoolery. It also features hinge doors instead of piston doors, which, hopefully, will make it not go all floppy cock and explode on launch. However, in order to make absolutely sure of this, I'm going to launch the ship in 2 parts. The central core, which you see here, and the 2 nacelles, so I can place the whole core inside of a fairing to shield it from drag, which I think is what caused the cargo bay to just fall apart last time. I'm just gonna politely ignore the fact that I gotta dock in single-digit frame rates at 2 points at once. Twice. Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun, isn't it?
Fun! 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 I'm having fun!
Okay, so that's the ship. That's all well and good, but who's actually gonna be on board to execute this mission? Well, allow me to introduce you to the crew. Pilot, Jebediah Kerman. The fearless ace pilot and second in command behind Kerman. Along with Bill and the ascended Bob, he's been one of the KSP's best pilots since its very inception, and has the guts to back it up. Jeb is willing to take almost any risk. Some would say that his almost legendary status in the KSP has gotten to his head, however, as he is always trying to be the very best and has developed quite an ego. Commander Kerman, the leader. An Air Force veteran of the 4th Krabistan War over Kraken summoning rights, commander of his mission and of the Odyssey Tylo circumnavigation mission from before Tylo became whatever it is now. Kerman embodies everything that a leader should strive to be: dependable, disciplined, wise, strong, and having a good sense of humor. Pilot, Ned Kerman. Third in command, Nedzer is a relatively new pilot for the KSP. Having just proven his worth by commanding a mission to Super Tylo, he has quite a lot of clout at the moment, something that Jebediah is not too fond of. In true Kerbal fashion, Ned was just an ordinary Kerbal, working an ordinary Kerbal job, with an ordinary Kerbal life of snacks and falling onto his face, until one fateful day, the KSP grabbed him off the streets at random and recruited him into their program. Engineer, Harry Kerman. The engineer and Ned's co-pilot during the Tylo mission. Despite her name, she is no more hairy than the average Kerbal, and why her parents decided to name her this remains unknown, as do their whereabouts. No one has seen or heard from either one of them in more than 20 years. Engineer, Bill Kerman. Being one of the original 3 Kerbinauts alongside Jeb and Bob, Bill has also seen an illustrious career, but is much more humble about what he does than Jebediah is. Whether this is because he's actually more humble, or because he is simply embarrassed about that time he managed to crash on Gilly, remains to be seen. Scientist, Kevin Kerman. The brains of the mission. A true bookworm, Kevin has been studying planetary science and geology since the day of his own birth. He has also read all of the works of Shakespeare approximately 152 times, and thus speaks like the characters in his plays. Art thou ready to begin the descent? Oh, great heavens, the engine hath ceased to function! Pilot, Jack Kerman. The Jack of all trades. Jack is quite the well-rounded fellow, and that's not just because of his overweight stature. From jobs as mundane as working at Valmart to those as intense as being a firefighter, he's seen it all. His experience working in a wide variety of situations will prove invaluable to the mission. Scientist, Verwise Kerman. The jokester. Always playing pranks on Kevin, but is otherwise the most chill dude imaginable. So chill, in fact, that people often mistake him for a stoner. During the Odyssey mission, however, he nearly caused Kevin's death by daring him to walk on foot to the North Pole, and passed it off as him merely doing a little trolling. Engineer, Money Kerman. Does not actually have any money. In fact, she spent most of her life living in a cardboard box next door to Oscar the Grouch's trash can. Scientist, Jolena Kerman. The KSP's newest recruit, Jolena feels that she has a lot to live up to, and is eagerly awaiting an opportunity to prove herself to her peers. She also believes in this conspiracy theory that a dwarf planet called Drez exists, but that's just sheer nonsense. And speaking of the crew, they've just been assembled for the very first time in the astronaut complex. Following Nedzer receiving news of the mission and promptly spitting his coffee in the desk agent's face in disbelief. What? How could I possibly stop a literal god? Listen, pal, I don't make the crew rosters around here. You put me with him? Did you not hear a word that I just said? Fine. Well. If it isn't Nedzer Kerman. I hear you're a bit of a celebrity now, thanks to that little stunt of yours. Too bad you'll soon be slipping back into irrelevance. Hey, Jeb, how's it going? You know, you could have just said you weren't happy with this arrangement either, and that would have sufficed. Alright, Jeb, that's enough from you. The name's Kerman. Pleasure to meet you. I'll be your acting commander for this mission. Why don't the rest of us give Nedzer a warm welcome? Hey, Ned. Pleased to meet you. I'm sure this mission will be a piece of cake with you on board. Good morrow, Nedzer, good sir. 'Tis an honor to be in thy presence. Nice to see you again, Ned. Say, how have you been all this time? It's good to see you again, too. I was doing alright until, you know, I was suddenly told I'd been tasked with stopping a god. Alrighty, everyone. What do you say we all get some breakfast? Our first training session starts later today. After what happened last time I was on the centrifuge, I want to avoid eating right now at all costs. That only happened because you thought it would be a good idea to eat an entire stack of pancakes right before. Well, of course I did. They're too good. Dude, I dare you to do it again. I'll give you 500 Kerbucks if you don't hurl. Bet. Alright, enough squabbling. They never had us use a centrifuge on day 1 of training anyways. With my luck, they just might. And so I told him, I double dog dare you to walk to the pole. Methinks thou art mad. Thy shenanigans nearly got me killed. I remember thinking you were a goner and was preparing to give Furwise here a good whipping. Whipping? I love whipped cream. That's it, no more whipped cream, funny guy. Hey, what's wrong? I don't know. I guess I'm just surprised at how tightly knit they are. They seem to know everything about one another. Like family. I feel like an outsider. Well, yeah, of course they are. They spent months in a rover together. I'd say we just need time to fit into the group. Hey, has she been with us the whole time? I don't think she said a word. Who, me? I'm, Nedzer Kerman. Well, nice to meet you. You new around here? I don't remember ever talking to you before. Yeah, this is my first mission, actually. Super nervous, though. I feel like everyone here knows so much more than me. Like, take yourself and Harry. You guys literally landed on a return from somewhere thought impossible. What have I got to show for myself? I'll never be as good as you. Yeah, that's pretty hard to match. Ed! Listen, we all had to start somewhere. I remember my first mission with the KSP, a mission to Minmus just before Bob did his thing. I never thought I'd go on to do anything remarkable for the KSP, and yet here I am. Yeah, a lot of people seem to forget that you were on the mission with me. I honestly don't know why. You did most of the work when it came to the navigation. But, Jolena, if you need any words of advice, don't hesitate to ask us. Meanwhile, as the crew did their, training over at Mission Control, the KSP was making their final preparations to launch a vessel, the center core of the Heff 3500, otherwise known as the world's largest fairing. As I said earlier, I want to be absolutely sure that the cargo bay does not tear itself apart during launch, and as such, I've shielded it from drag entirely, resulting in a fairing that, by itself, weighs something like 100 tons. And speaking of a launch, the crew had assembled to watch it, and the countdown began. T-minus 3 minutes and counting. We are still go at this time. Why is the whole thing in a giant fairing again? Something to do with protecting the cargo bay during launch. Upper stage pressurization completed. Power transfer complete on Heff 3500. We are go for launch. Minus 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Why do they need such a big ship for just 10 of us again? Shh, I'm trying to watch. 3, 2, 1. All engines running. I think my ears just died. What? Passing through max Q now, initiating gravity turn maneuver. First stage separation, T-minus 3, 2, 1. Commencing final orbital insertion. And that was it. Against my own expectations, the Heff 3500 actually managed to reach orbit on the first try with minimal complications, if you exclude me having to spend over 15 minutes transferring fuel because I forgot to disable crossfeed on the docking port connecting the ship to everything. I love transferring fuel. This is awesome. And as the crew continues their laborious, rigorous training, let's launch the nacelles into orbit. Let's launch the nacelles into orbit. Hey, that was pretty easy. Let's go into dock with the ship. Oh my, well, this is gonna be painful. And indeed it was. After taking over an hour to dock both successfully, the ship had, at long last, finally been assembled. All that was left now was to deliver the crew. After Kerman had given his final briefing on the mission, he could only conduct a limited number of repairs. Any questions? Yeah. Why is there 3 different command pods again? Anyways, after being picked up and driven to the launch pad by none other than Chuck Kerman, one of Ned's best friends, the crew found themselves lining up to board the Maverick shuttle to take into orbit. Well, here we are, folks. The launch pad. Man, being a Kerbinaut looks fun. It is until you try to get out of your seat in 4 Gs of gravity. You're never gonna let that little fluke of yours go, are you? Well, folks, looks like I'm off. Godspeed, and may the Kraken be with you. And with that, the crew began boarding the ship, with Kerman staying behind to make sure everybody boarded safely, including those who were slightly acrophobic. But I told you guys before, don't look down. Look down? No! KSC, this is Maverick. All 10 crew members are now on board and securely seated. Understood. Retracting the catwalk. We are go for launch. T-minus 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. And with that, the Maverick rose high into the skies of Kerbin on twin columns of fire. During this time, though, Nedzer couldn't help but think about how he'd now been put on 2 of the KSB's most ambitious missions. Did he really deserve to be here? Why him? Why not someone else? Surely he couldn't be that good of a pilot, right? Nedzer, you alright? Yeah, I'm fine. Good. We're about to go in for docking with the Heff 3500. We need you in the cockpit. KSC, this is Maverick. We are now lining up for docking with the Heff 3500. Distance 500 meters and closing. Copy that. Proceed with caution. Ned, what are you doing? You've got it way off to the left. Relax, Jeb. I'll just apply a bit of rightward thrust. You overcorrected it, you idiot! I've got it. Stop distracting me. They call you our best pilot, yet you can't even dock? Maverick, what's going on up there? Slow your relative velocity. What, so you can just crash us? You almost make me want to do that. Alright, that's enough from both of you. KSC, this is Maverick. Correcting course now. KSC, this is Maverick. Docking sequence complete. What in the hell was that all about, you two? Great heavens! Thou nearly collided us into the barge! Methinks thou art a Clamperton. What? Your little squabble nearly got us crashing into the ship. If my military career taught me anything, it's that infighting is fatal. I cannot allow either one of you to pilot a spacecraft if you cannot learn to just at least tolerate one another. Both of you are barred from piloting anything for the whole exploration of the Joule system. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Good. And on that rather bitter note, the crew settled into the Heff 3500, performing system inspections and cargo bay checks, including Bill's inspection of the engine room, full of radioactivity. Uranium. And before too long, they were ready to fire up the engines and set out into space for their first destination, Bob. Stay tuned for next time, where the Grand Tour shall truly begin.